Welcome to Trail Talks, a podcast discussing the opportunities students have with career services. And now, from Utah Tech University, it's Trail Talks.
Hello.
Hi.
It's been a little bit since we've been on here.
It is.
And today we have Benjamin Miklautsch. Did I pronounce that right?
You're closer than.
Okay, you say it for us.
It's Miklautsch.
Miklautsch. Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people hold on to like the KL. It's just Miklautsch.
Okay. Well, we are here with Ben today, and he is a proposal writer. He has had some experience at Utah Tech being an English major. But I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and then why you wanted to go into English.
Yeah, so I grew up in northern Illinois, definitely further north than Chicago, but kind of around Chicago. And then around 18, I moved to St. George with my parents, and it was there that I got, that's where I enrolled in UTU for the English program. The main thing, I was thinking really hard about it, the main thing that got me involved in English, I think at the youngest age, my dad at the hunting camp, my dad would sit around the campfire every night and tell stories. And so from 6 to 13, maybe I would sit there and listen to him tell these stories. And I noticed how he would change his stories and they got better over time and stuff. And so I think that was really the first thing of narrative and the retelling of something that I really noticed. And then my dad got me into books. And the big thing was in high school, reading The Great Gatsby. That was a book I really emotionally connected to.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is really cool. What's going on with the story writing? How does this guy do it?
Yeah. I maybe am embarrassed to say I haven't read that book before. So
I also have never read that book.
Oh, I know.
Neither of you have read the
No. I went through all of high school.
For 50 years.
Hey, I'll put it on my list. I'll put it on my list.
It's next on my list.
I know actually right now too, the English department they have on their board in their collab room on the 4th floor. They actually have books that I'm embarrassed to say I haven't read.
I saw that the other day.
And so it's actually kind of cool. So maybe I should just go put my name on the board and put that book on there.
I will be checking your Goodreads, so please.
Funny. Okay, so with English too, I mean, it sounds like you were very passionate personally about English, but what did that look like in terms of trying to find a job or thinking about what work would look like too? Because I would maybe assume that proposal writing wasn't your first choice.
Actually, so it's funny, it may not have been my first choice, but after I took the grant writing class with Dr. Kovic, it was during that class I was like, oh, this is the thing I can do that's real or quote unquote real. This is something I haven't known about before, but the application of business for that was so just 100% clear that it actually became a main focus in maybe my sophomore year. But yeah, like everyone, I had dreams of being a novel writer. I still do. But I work on that at home on the side. When I'm not in my day job. That's my moonlighting,
Yeah. And I would imagine that you probably had a lot of people in your cohort in English kind of doing some of that stuff on the side too.
Yeah, I think that's everybody, because what 14-year-old is like, man, I want to write.
Yeah.
If a 14-year-old saying that, I would be concerned. Please find some things you enjoy. This is too early to be doing that. But yeah, so I think every writer, most people get into writing because of novels or short stories or poetry, or good nonfiction books. And so I think most writers, I would bet, have started with the need for creative outlet is what gets them into it.
Right. Okay. So I am curious though, for maybe even the viewers that are listening, what is a proposal writer? What does your day-to-day life look like right now?
So the easiest way to explain it is I help companies get married.
Okay.
They're silly songs. Because what happens is you have these companies that are sending it that want to sign a contract for like $10 million, right? And they're not going to do that just kind of like willy-nilly. You can't just like shake their hand and be like, yeah, we'll do that. So what ends up happening is they put together these teams to send out proposals, right? Which the shortest way to explain it is like a giant short answer questionnaire. And so they put these out, and what happens is at my company, I work with the sales teams. So the sales teams will bring me these proposals and I'll take them. I'll look at the company, like what their values are, what other sorts of things that they really look for in businesses. And then I'll take the information about our company and form it all to fit into that to make sure that's the best response possible. That puts us in the best position to win the business.
So it's like you're working with their sales team to try to get their business then too, and then just clearly, explicitly saying all the things that need to be said.
Yeah, no, it's our sales team. What happens is like I work at OC Tanner. The OC Tanner sales teams are constantly prospecting for deals, right? Going out there on the beat looking for stuff. When they finally have something, they bring it into my department, which is SST, Strategic Solutions. And then we say, all right, we're going to help you with this part of it, which is the proposal. And that's where I come. And then once it's submitted, our sales team goes back to like following that, and I go on to the next project.
Cool. So in your Strategic Solutions team, do you also, like, who are the other people that you work in your team?
So the department is, there's a director, and then there's two managers. There's kind of sub-teams. There's the proposal writer team and the project manager team. So there's me and three other writers, as well as the manager of the writers, and then three project managers and a manager.
Yeah.
But so in that team, I don't work with the writers. Every project I'm assigned a project manager. So I work a lot closer with the project managers individually than with the other writers.
Okay. So it's a lot of like individual work then, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm very much when on a project, unless it's a really big project where I need backup or if I'm going out of town or something, I'm usually pretty much a lone wolf when it comes to actual writing work.
Wow. Okay, cool. So that's good that you're kind of doing that independent work. What other kind of skill sets do you feel like you use on a daily basis?
Yeah, so there's, similar to being a student, the basic ones are like the researching, the editing, the composition, all that kind of stuff. But the big ones are obviously time management. Any job you have is going to require good time management. And then there's also a lot of soft skills that go into it. If you remember like having a group project and understanding that, all right, this one student or this one person I'm working with is really good at doing this first task, but not so good at the second one. I need to do the second one, and they need to do the first one for the most efficient. There's a lot of that. There's like a lot of relationship management.
Got it.
And a lot of keeping things organized too. SST and proposal specifically are super detail-oriented things. There'll be 200 questions that all need to be like under 2,000 characters for each response, all of those sorts of things. So there's a lot of keeping everything in track too. It's easy to get lost.
Right. Okay, cool. And so I'm curious as well, like securing that job. I've had a lot of students that will come in too and just kind of say, I don't know what to do with my English degree. And maybe they have a general idea, kind of like you did with your grant writing class that you took. But what did you start doing to prepare yourself for job searching? And how early did you start?
So I had always been pretty focused on that. I think probably the single best thing for your mindset when you're going through college is being understanding of like where it's trying to take you. I think like a lot of schooling, you kind of get like led by the hand and told, oh, you need to go here, you need to do this, you need to go here. But after college, you're kind of on your own wondering what you should do. So in college, like sophomore year when I took that grant writing class and understood that would be a really valid thing, or not valid, a valuable thing to pursue. I started focusing everything on that. For that grant class, I went out and found a specific nonprofit to work with. And then after that, one of my professors at UTU connected me with a little bit of side work that I did. And then eventually I did an internship over a sponsored program. So those were just like, and those, how I prepared for those is I was constantly seeking them out, asking around, trying to build good rapport with my professors and let them know that I'm a consistent dude that's going to show up and get the work done, and that their reputation wouldn't be damaged for recommending me to someone. On the side of that, there's always the talk about like resume building, talking about getting the job at OC Tanner. I started applying. I was hired at OC Tanner in January of 2022.
Okay.
I applied for the job like October 31st or November 1st, so 2 months before I graduated.
Okay.
Because, and you know, you could be like, oh, well, I'm not graduated yet, but there's a ton of companies that'll say no when you aren't graduated. So why not do that right then? And if it works out, that's even better.
Yeah. Did you start like a whole semester before, like searching for jobs too, before you graduated, or did you start even before that? So you started, I mean, it sounds like you did a lot of prep work with your experience side of things, but like, when did you actually say like, boom, I'm starting to
going to look for jobs.
I'm going to look for jobs right now.
I think throughout my entire college career, I just applied to jobs to see what happens. It's not illegal to throw an application for a job you're not qualified for.
Right.
That's true.
When I really hunkered it down was over the summer before graduating. So during that summer, I really focused on it. I had collected enough experience and education that I felt I was really at like actually truly qualified for what I was doing. And so over the summer, I focused on making my resume nice and refining it down to what it only should be and nothing more. And then I really started applying, I think, like September. And I just threw out job application after job application. So 3 months before.
Yeah. How many jobs did you apply for?
I was just going to ask that too.
Do you remember?
I don't know, honestly.
Okay.
Probably in the hundreds.
Wow. That's crazy.
I would go through and read them, and even though proposal writing is what I had to focus on, the really cool thing about having an English degree is it's such a flexible career. There's so many opportunities. There's so much where language interacts with business, right? In almost every facet, at every level.
Yep.
And so, as a writer, sometimes it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, in that like no business will ever ask a CPA or an accountant like, what do you do for a business? But at the same time, you're then kind of pigeonholed into doing that. Whereas with a writer, you can talk your way through it. You can figure out and explain how you fit in, and it becomes really, really flexible. So yeah.
Okay, cool. So can you talk too about like how you specifically connected with OC Tanner as well? Because I mean, sounds like, I mean, this is the one that you secured after you did 100 job applications. Like, what was unique about this experience?
So reading through what OC Tanner did was one of the things that really made me interested in them. I did the standard, just apply for it, and then heard back. But when I heard back from them, because I was interested in what the company does as like their products, I really was excited about it. And so during my first interview, just kind of the preliminary meeting the people, I obviously I do my best to be personable, but I was really excited to talk with them and have a proper discussion with them. And I think that almost made me more than a resume in a way. It brings my character to life, and it makes them curious about me while I'm curious about them.
Yeah.
And then after that, I made sure I was really good about the follow-ups. I didn't put them off. I made sure to provide anything that they asked for, like as quickly as possible, and just kept up that rapport through the interview process. And I think that's the thing that also got me interested. My team is really, really cool. It's the best team I've ever been a part of. This is the best manager I've ever had. I'm never stressed about my job. So it that connection too was like, all right, I really, really want this job.
Okay. So you really wanted it. So talk to me through too, because some students are so nervous about even just the interview portion and what that looks like, even the communication that you're having with those people. So you kind of learned that you liked it. What happened after that?
Yeah. So are you talking like how to get over the nerves of dealing with interviews?
I guess. Yeah. Like what did
Yeah.
you personally do, and what, I guess, suggestions would you have for other students?
So first of all, don't think I'm impervious. I felt like tubing through every single interview. It's like I walked away from it. It's like when you like send a text saying you like someone and you have to like set down your phone and like walk into their room and face.
Yep. Run.
You throw it.
Throw the phone.
But so it was, nerves are a part of it, but when you're doing like an interview, yes, there are certain amount, there are boundaries because it's professional.
Mm-hmm.
But these are still people too. They still want to laugh. They still want to hang out and have good times with people. They're not just the angriest person on earth. So obviously there's a very clear line of like being professional and unprofessional, but even in professional settings, there's still like jokes that can be cracked. And if you kind of break that ice and show that it's just, you're not a robot, you're a real human.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you are who you are, and you're fun, and you want to be a part of the team, and you're relaxed. That may even be more important than being the most qualified. Because I know from my manager, she's told me about how she would much rather have a good person to work with who's ready to learn than the most qualified person that's real terrible to be around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just taking a deep breath and understanding that what happens is what happens, and you do your best. But if something goes a little bit wrong, that's okay. Don't get hung up on it and just keep on focusing on what are the interviews about.
Yeah. And so, I mean, even that composure you have to keep like throughout the whole like interview process and then getting the job. But also there's a lot of like composure you have to like keep when you're in your job too. So even just like maintaining a healthy work-life balance. So talk to kind of some skill sets or some, I guess, routinely things that you do for yourself to kind of keep that work-life balance.
Yeah. So one of the main things is that I make sure that I have my away hours set properly on my phone for Outlook and Teams and all that, because when I'm home, I don't want to be seeing messages about how this project I'm working on has lit on fire and that I'm going to have to go deal with it in the morning. When I get home from work, I take like a 20-minute walk. I live near a park, so I walk down to the park and back without my phone, without anything, just being myself and not worrying about it at all. And then when I do my work at work, of course I do it to the best possible, but I do my best to manage my time so that when I clock out per se, I'm not worried about all the things I have to catch up. You know, when I clock out Friday, I'm not worried about what I got done Monday morning first thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so just having those sort of boundaries, and making sure to spend some time with friends, take care of yourself, eat well, sleep, that sort of thing. All of that contributes to keeping work as work for me.
Yeah. I mean, it also just sounds like the school life balance too.
Yeah.
So all those skills are getting... hopefully that's helpful to some of the listeners.
Yeah.
that's it, just continuation of that
goes on.
It's really not that bad. One of the things, when I was feeling a lot of imposter syndrome about like, am I good enough? One of the things I told myself is these businesses want you to succeed. The better you do is the better that the company does as a whole, right? And a part of that too is that they're going to build this job to be done sort of for the lowest common denominator, so that as many people as possible can do it. And the chances of you not falling like within that bell curve are extremely low. So trust in yourself. You're a capable, talented person, and you'll be able to get through it. There's nothing saying that you won't. So don't drag yourself down.
Yeah. I know it's funny because like even in my job too, and I've been doing this particular role at least for almost 2 years. And sometimes I'm like, well, I'm an imposter. Why did they pick me? And I don't think that ever goes away, honestly.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I don't know how many times my manager has to tell me I'm doing a good job for me to believe her, but we haven't found that number yet.
Yeah.
I've been doing this radio thing for 30 years and I still feel like an imposter. So yeah, it doesn't go away.
Ayo, Sean, the director too, is saying that. So it's a big thing. But I got to sidetrack too on kind of talking about that aspect of that work-life balance type stuff. But I wanted to go back kind of too to some of the portfolio items that I'm sure that you had collected over the years. And how did that play in? What did they look like? And second, how did they play into you getting your current role?
Yeah, so my portfolio items, one of the things I tried to do, one of the focuses I had when collecting those pieces is I wanted the different pieces to demonstrate different skills.
Mm-hmm.
If they were all the exact same thing, showing that I can do the same thing, that looks pretty flat, right? That's one dimensional.
Right.
So I did a project where I designed like an information card for students. And so I had that shows, okay, I understand documents and how to make them look nice. Mm-hmm. I used my capstone because that was a semester-long project that I had to consistently work on. Mm-hmm. And so that showed dedication and the ability to follow through on something. So just all those different things. I think I had five items total, and all of them had like a little bit different flavor of what I was doing in them. And so that was my focus on it and making sure that I understood what that was. And when I send my writing samples to my manager, I made sure to, like, everything that was typed out, I made sure to explain, like, this sample is about this and it shows how I did this. Mm-hmm. This sample was in this context, this is how I did this. And that way she had more understanding for herself to appreciate the skills I was showing.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that communication part of it is so... I think some people just kind of skip right over that and just say, here's a bunch of information, have at it. But that context.
Yeah, and it's scary. It's you're afraid to make the wrong step, but no step is worse than making the wrong step.
Yeah. I mean, I know too, is like as a creative and a lot of creative people feel like that somebody's going to look at your work and go, ooh, that's not what I wanted. So how did you kind of overcome, I guess that's even in a sense too, imposter syndrome on your own work? Like, did you experience that? How did you get over that?
Yeah, that especially when choosing the writing samples, it's like, well, I have this thing, would this be better than that? What do they want to hear? Mm-hmm. But ultimately, the things I picked are the things that I felt correlated with my strongest skills, right? And so for that, they can say, oh, well, that wasn't really what we were looking for. And if that leads to like not getting a job, that's unfortunate. But I do my best to remember to be proud of, I've made this thing. I put in the time. I'm proud of it simply for existing. And if it isn't what someone else is looking for, that's okay. I can't control that, but what I can control is that this thing is as good as it could be.
Right.
And after that, it's hard, but you should try not to have a lot of shame after that.
Right. Okay, I love that. Okay, last thoughts. Do you have any suggestions or recommendations or just words of wisdom that you'd like to give to our listeners, and then even specifically those in English too?
Yeah, one of the big things that hold a lot of people is when it comes to your resume, really actually keep it simple. On my resume, I had like 3 items of experience with a little description below them, and then my school, and then some skills. But it was one page, maybe like, I don't know. There was so much white space in it. But the thing is that kind of in a resume or any piece of art, really, if you want to call it that, there's a certain amount of weight to it where the impact of it, the more you put into a piece, the less impact it has. Mm-hmm. So keeping that simple and straightforward gives it a lot of impact and makes it clean and simple and easy to read, which helps the people want to talk to you.
Absolutely.
The other thing is, I can remember the spring before graduating, I was so anxious about it, and it's just trust in yourself. You are a talented, capable person. People want you to work for them. Just keep focused, and it'll work out all right. But don't stress too much.
Woohoo! Words of wisdom. Thank you so much, Ben. We'll see ya.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks for listening to Trail Talks, a podcast discussing the opportunities students have with career services at Utah Tech University. For more information, go to career.utahtech.edu. Till next time, this has been Trail Talks. This has been a production from a podcast studio.